Hi guys, so I'm back with another baby names video, and if this is the first time you've watched any of my videos, I'm Lauren. I'm a mum of two. I've got two little girls, and I'm also the owner of the Milky Tee Company, which is a breastfeeding clothing company. And yeah, speaking of clothing, because I'm doing floral baby names, I decided today to wear something floral. Went through my wardrobe and discovered that I own pretty much nothing that has floral patterns on it because I pretty much live in t-shirts and sweatshirts. So this is the only thing I could find that has any sort of floral print on it, and it's more like a sort of beach cover-up kind of thing, which my lovely friend Jo got me. But enough about my outfits, let's get into some baby names. So today I wanted to share some floral baby names that I really love. Some are quite traditional, some that you definitely will have heard of. Others are a bit more unique, and I also wanted to have a few unisex names in there, some that could be used for boys as well as girls, because traditionally floral names are, I guess, very feminine and are mainly for girls, but there are a couple in there for boys as well. So if you're expecting a baby boy or have just had one, then some of these names could work for you too. So the first name on my list is my favourite floral baby name. I absolutely love it, and it's the name Lily. Very common name, well, I don't know if the word is common, but popular name, because it is just so pretty. It's such a beautiful name for a little girl, and it works from a young child right through until they're sort of 100, you know. It's the sort of name that covers all generations. Of course, then it comes from the flower, the lily, which is one of my favourite flowers. It's beautiful. It was really popular in the early 1900s. Then it disappeared for a while off the top 100 list for quite a few years, actually, from like the mid 1930s, and then lily came back in like the late 90s, and now is really popular and tends to always be somewhere within the sort of top 10. So if you wanted something a little bit more unusual, you could maybe go for something like Linnea or Liliana. So those are variations of it as well, and I love both of those too. Next on my list is the name Daisy, which of course comes from the flower, the daisy. And I think this name is just a really sweet name. It's also got a bit of a hip, cool feel to it, I think. I can imagine a little daisy wearing a straw hat and skipping through a festival. And in terms of popularity, quite similar to Lily in that it was very popular in the early 1900s when a lot of floral names were really popular. It dropped off slightly before Lily, so around 1925 it dropped out of the top 100, and again didn't really come back in until the 90s, but since the early 90s, it has been really growing in popularity and now often is within the top 30. So yeah, it is a popular one, but a really lovely name for a little girl. Okay, the next name is more of, I guess, a unisex name. It could be used for a girl or a boy, and I think it's a very cool name, and it's the name Indigo. And yeah, it comes from the indigo flower, which is of course the purpley bluey kind of flower, and also it's one of the colours of the rainbow, so it's kind of got a vibrant feel to it. I think it works really well for a girl or a boy. Probably for me, I would probably use it more for a boy, but I think it works well for both. So yeah, maybe if you're looking for a slightly more unisex name or a floral name for a boy, then Indigo might be the one for you. Number 4 is a name that I've mentioned before in my videos, and it's a unique name that I think is one of the most gorgeous, unique names that I've ever heard, and it is the name Linnea. And it can be spelt either Linnea with like an accent over the E, or it can also be spelled Linnea. So there are two spellings of it. It originates from Sweden, and it means twin flower or lime blossom. And although it is really beautiful, it has never been in the top 100. So I think it's a really good one if you're looking for a floral name that is a little bit different, something a bit more unique that people, you know, won't have heard of, but it's also not too way out there that they won't know how to say it. So yeah, I think Linnea is really lovely. And actually, a lady did get in touch with me who watched one of my previous videos, and she named her daughter Linnea after watching one of my videos. So maybe if you end up naming yours Linnea as well, please let me know, because I would love to hear. That'd be amazing. Okay, next is the name Fleur, F-L-E-U-R, or if you're Welsh, you could go for the Welsh spelling, which is double F-L-U-R. So maybe if you've got a Welsh connection, you could use the Welsh spelling instead. But Fleur, F-L-E-U-R, is of course the French word for flower, so perfect for a floral baby name. It's also, again, quite, I think, quite a trendy, unusual name, and there have been a few famous Fleurs. There's Florence, the singer over here who won the X Factor. I think she won it anyway. Then there's also Fleur, who was the skunk from Bambi. You know, just if you're a fan of Bambi. Or if you're a fan of Harry Potter, there was of course the witch called Fleur in that. So yeah, any of those reasons to call your baby Fleur, but if you're just looking for a lovely floral name, then I don't think you can get more floral really than Fleur. Next on my list is another unique, unusual floral name, and it is Zinnia, spelled Z-I-N-N-I-A, and I just think this is a lovely name. I'd not actually heard of it until I started researching sort of floral names and looking at different ones, and I always like to find ones that are unusual, and so looking at different names of flowers, this one really stood out. And it's a beautiful flower as well. It's a very vibrant, colourful flower. They come in a range of colours, so again, really lovely sort of connotations to this name. It is very unusual and doesn't feature in any of like the top 100s, or I think even the top 1000 baby names. So yeah, very, very unique if you're looking for something a little bit different. Okay, next on my list is the name Florence, and you probably will know of this name from, of course, Florence Nightingale, who is, I think, the most famous Florence there has ever been and probably ever will be. There's also Florence from Florence and the Machine, if you're a fan of that. It comes from the Latin Florens, which means blooming, so perfect floral name. I also love Florence shortened to Flory. I think Flory is very, very cute for a little girl, and then maybe they can become Florence as they become older, or they have that choice to shorten it if they want to. But yeah, it's just a lovely name. Again, one that was extremely popular in the early 20th century and often featured in the top 10 baby lists. I think it may have even been #1 for a number of years, so really popular. Died off again sort of mid 20th century, but has recently had a massive resurgence. It's become really, really popular recently, and around the last 10 years it's suddenly like boomed, and now is frequently in the top 30. So yeah, a really lovely name with a good floral connection there. Okay, next it's the name Rose, and I think Rose is such a pretty, sweet, sort of short, delicate name. And yeah, of course, roses are probably one of the most popular flowers, I guess, in the world. Well, certainly here in the UK. And the rose is the symbol of England, and it's also a symbol of love because we give them on Valentine's Day. So yeah, I think it's just a really lovely one that has lots of nice sort of meanings around it. Maybe if you're English as well, because of the connection to England, then maybe you would like that name even more. Even though it is a gorgeous name, it is popular. It's within the top 100, but it never tends to be sort of higher up than the top 50. It tends to be around the sort of top 75 names, but it doesn't go up a lot higher than that. So if you're wanting something that's a beautiful floral name but isn't as popular as some of the other ones, then Rose might be a really good one for you to go with. It is a very popular middle name, so unfortunately there aren't any stats that I could find on popularity of middle names, but I do think that a lot of people I know have called their children Rose as their middle name, so it's a lovely middle name as well if you wanted it for that, but I also think it works really well as a first name. And then kind of with a bit of a connection to Rose is the next name, and this is more for a boy. It could be either though, and it's the name Bud. B-U-D, so like a rosebud, or really the bud of any flower. So obviously it's the little bud before it blooms into a flower. I think Bud is a very cute, cool name for a boy. You could also do Buddy if you wanted, like Buddy Holly, but I quite like Bud on its own. In terms of popularity, it's not particularly popular, so you don't tend to hear of it that much, but that might be a really good thing if you're looking for something that's a bit more rare and that not many kids are called. So yeah, you can maybe go for Bud. Okay, number 11 on my list is the name Iris, and my daughter, childminder, there's a little girl called Iris there, and I think it's a lovely name, and I actually haven't heard of that many irises. So although it's a beautiful floral name, there aren't too many of them out there, so it is slightly more unique than some of the others, but yet people will definitely know it and they'll know how to spell it and things. So an iris flower is like a purpley coloured flower, and it also means rainbow. Yeah, the word is the Greek word for rainbow, and so again another one that sort of has this connection to lots of colour and nature and things like that. So yeah, I really love the name Iris. Similar to other names, it was much more popular back in the early 1900s. But then since about 1945, it's dropped out of favour, and since then, although it's come back a bit in popularity, certainly not back to where it was. It's no longer in the top 100. So again, that means it is slightly more unique if you're wanting something that isn't as popular. Next on my list is the name Blossom, which literally means flower or a mass of flowers. So yeah, perfect one for a floral baby name, and is one that isn't really, again, that widely used. If you remember the sitcom, the US sitcom from the 1990s called Blossom, then that is maybe what this name reminds you of. I loved that programme. The girl in it is now in, oh, what's the name of it? The science one. The name's just totally left my head. Oh, I know it. The whole universe is in a hot dun. That one. Whoa, please somebody tell me what that is below, because that's going to drive me mad. Okay, it's left my head. I'm sure it'll come to me later, but let me know what she is now in, the girl that played Blossom, because I can't remember now. But yes, I really think this is something that's a bit more unusual if you're looking for something different. But in terms of popularity, a Blossom is never within the top 100, so it's not hugely popular. Even when it was big in the US during that sitcom, it still didn't quite ever make it really big, and maybe because it is slightly more unusual floral name, but I think it's quite a cute one as well. Okay, number 13 is the name Carla, spelled C-A-L-L-A, and this is obviously from the Carla lily, which is a variety of lily. It also has a lovely meaning because it means beautiful, so a gorgeous name for a little girl, and also an unusual one. It's not one you hear very often, so you won't tend to see it in, you know, the most popular baby names list. So again, lovely floral name that is a little bit more rare if you're wanting something a little bit different. Next then, it's another boy's name, and it's the name Jared, which means rose in Hebrew. I didn't actually know this until I started doing a bit of research, because I've always loved the name Jared and didn't really know what it meant. There are a few other meanings to it, but in terms of the floral connection, because a lot of these names, there are different places that they've originated from and different stories of where they've come from, but one of the main ones that Jared is linked to is to the Hebrew word for rose. Much more popular in the US actually than in the UK, so if you're in the US you probably know a few more Jareds than I do here in the UK. But yeah, I think it's a really nice name, and one that you wouldn't really know had a floral connection, but if you had a baby born around springtime, it might be a really good one for a spring name that doesn't seem like an obvious spring name. Sorry if I've just moved positions, my camera ran out of space, so it just died on me, so I've just managed to delete a whole load of videos that have been sitting there for far too long, and yeah, get back into this. So I was on number 15. So the 15th name on my list for floral baby names is Azealia, spelled A-Z-A-L-E-A, and this is a slightly more, I guess, unusual one. It's a more modern flower name that's becoming more popular. You've maybe heard of it because of Azealia Banks, the American rapper, and it actually came into the top 1,000 names in the US in 2012. Here in the UK, still not particularly popular, but I do think it's one that may grow a little bit in popularity because it is a floral name and a little bit different, and again it has that Z sound, which I think people are liking at the moment. We're seeing more Z names around at the moment. So yeah, Azealia, it's a type of flower and it's native to Japan and comes in a range of colours, especially sort of pinks and purples. Okay, next on my list is the name Jasmine, spelled J-A-S-M-I-N-E, and it became popular actually in the 90s after Disney released the film Aladdin, which of course has the lead female character in it, Princess Jasmine. So it became really popular then and has continued to stay popular ever since, often being in the top 30 names. And the floral connection is of course from the jasmine flower, which is like a white flower, small little petals. But it's also mostly known as well as a flower for its fragrance. So it's a really fragrant flower and is often used in things like perfumes and bath oils and anything that really smells nice. So you'll often have a nice jasmine smell. Okay, number 17 is another unusual one, and one that I think works well for a girl or a boy, and it's the name Astor. Now Astor is a large type of plant that's like has purple and pink kind of colors to it, and yeah, I just really like it as a name. As I said, I think it works for either sex, but I actually quite like it as a boy's name. So yeah, it's got a connection to flowers. It's something a little bit different, can be used for a girl or a boy, so it's quite a cool floral name. And yeah, because it is quite different, it's a really unique one, so you won't find too many other Astors out there. Okay, next it's the name Lalani. Lalani, spelled Leilani. Trying to remember it off my head. And I think this is a really, really pretty name, and it's actually an Hawaiian name, and it means like garland of flowers. Yeah, heavenly garland of flowers. So it's even nicer meanings. If you have any connections to Hawaii, or maybe you just fancy a wee trip to Hawaii in a few years and you can say we're going because of my daughter's name, then Lalani might be the one for you. Next is the name William, and you might not expect to see William popping up in a floral baby names video because it doesn't sound very floral, but of course there is the flower Sweet William, so it does have a floral connection, and I love the name William. It's a very kind of traditional name, sort of a good strong boy's name. It fits any age group from a young child right through till, you know, they're older, till they're OAPs. It's a perfect name. You can shorten it obviously to Will or Billy or Bill. So yeah, I really like William. It's something different, something again you wouldn't automatically think is a floral name, but if you had a baby at this time of year around springtime, then I think that'd be a really, really good name to go for. And in terms of popularity, it's one that is pretty constant. It always is, always around. For the last 100 years, it's always been in the top 100. It's just one of those staple kind of names. Nowadays, although you do get a few Williams, it's definitely not as popular, so you're less likely to find as many Wills and Williams in your class in 2020 as you would have in 1920. And finally, I thought I'd end with another unique, unusual one that I think is going to grow in popularity, and it's the name Ayane or Ayane. You can pronounce it either with the I or the A sound at the beginning, so Ayane or Ayane, but it is spelled A-Y-A-N-A. And I think this is a gorgeous name. I'm surprised it's not more popular because I think it's just got that lovely A sound. It's got vowels, it's got Anna at the end. I think it's just a beautiful name, and it means beautiful flower or eternal blossom, and it has links to both Native America and Somalia, so if you have connections to either of those, then it might be a perfect name for you. As I said, it's not been in the top 100 in the last 100 years, but I have a feeling it might be one that we're going to see a little bit more. Maybe if you're wanting again something unusual, unique, but also beautiful, and one that's easy enough to say and spell so people shouldn't get too confused, then I think Ayane is a really, really beautiful one to go for. So those are 20 of my favorite floral baby names. I hope you liked some of them. Let me know your thoughts. Are there any that you preferred? Are there any you thought, that's awful, I'd never call my child that? Or maybe you have other floral names that you love. Please share them below. Also, if there are any other baby names videos you'd like me to do, then please let me know. It's always great to get ideas from you guys. And if any of you are pregnant, hope you're keeping well, and you know, especially during lockdown at the moment that we're in. So yeah, I hope you're keeping well, and I'll be back with another video soon. Take care. Bye.